disinformation? What I can tell you is that our focus is not on disinformation, broadly speaking.
Well, wait a minute. Yes, it is. Wait a minute.
Can I answer the question?
You can in a minute. Your star witness said in the litigation, Elvis Chan, who's in charge of this, said they do it on the basis of disinformation. We need a definition of what that is.
Our focus is on malign foreign disinformation, that is, foreign hostile actors who engage in covert efforts to abuse our social media platforms, which is something that is not seriously in dispute.
I have to stop you for time. That's not accurate. You need to read this court opinion because you're in charge of enforcing it.
Yeah, golly. Oh, it's only for foreign, whatever. That's not at all, in fact, what the truth of the matter is. Welcome back to the show. Dana Loesch here with you. Top of this third hour of the program. You can listen coast to coast. You can also check out the stream. You can watch the simulcast on YouTube, Facebook, Channel 347, DirecTV, dealing with a allergic reaction. So it's look a little differently today. So if we're trying to carry the show all the way through, and then I promise I'm going to the doctor after. It's just a reaction to medication. So Chris Wray in this, because his hearing has been today, and we've played some very interesting cuts from Jim Jordan. There's some from Thomas Massey and others. Chip Roy's had a good Q&A, particularly when he was being asked about, when what you just heard him say there, that this has to do with, we were looking at foreign, whatever. And he later explained that one of their task forces was actually created in response to domestic terror threats. And then that's when Democrats went down this rabbit hole of what they considered, white supremacy terrorist attacks or whatever. Apparently nobody thought to bring up, the trans activist violence in Christian schools. But he also admitted that, the Bank of America and other businesses are sharing people's records all the time with the FBI. And there was a very good, and I can't remember who it was. It was Rogers or somebody else that was having this discussion with them. But he was saying, look, you can't be sharing these people's information like this. They're simply, if they're going out and they're not doing anything wrong, they're not doing anything wrong at all. They're just simply going out purchasing a firearm, or they're going out and doing this, and you're giving records over without a warrant. That's not how this works. And he was even asked at one point, how do you preserve the ability to protect Americans from actual credible threats while not, casting or without this irresponsible system that we have now, where average everyday Americans now have to wonder if they're going to be baselessly considered a threat at any given time because of the politicization of these efforts. And I go back to the way that parents, when they spoke out at school boards, the way that they were being classified by the DOJ and the FBI. What was the, it was a terrorist tag. Do you remember what it was called? No. It was some kind of tag that they had used that was made possible by the Patriot Act. And that's how they classified these parents. And so Chris Wray was, he was discussing, and this is, let's play this because this was the Q&A with him and Massey. He was being asked about tracking and sharing customer data with the FBI, but without anybody's permission and really their knowledge. Listen to this, audio soundbite 24.
George Hill, former FBI supervisory intelligence analyst in the Boston field office, told us that the Bank of America, with no legal process, gave to the FBI gun purchase records with no geographical boundaries for anybody that was a Bank of America customer. Is that true?
Mm-hmm. Well, what I do know is that a number of business community partners all the time, including financial institutions, share information with us about possible criminal activity. And my understanding is that that's fully lawful. In the
did you ask for that information?
In the specific instance that you're asking about, my understanding is that that information was shared with field offices for information only, but then recalled to avoid even the appearance of any kind of overreach. But my understanding is that that's a fully lawful process.
Was there a warrant involved?
Again, my understanding is that the institution in question shared information with us, as happens all the time.
Did you request the information?
I can't speak to the specifics.
Okay, well, we've got an email where it says the FBI did give the search queries to Bank of America, and Bank of America responded to the FBI and gave over this information without a search warrant. Do you believe there's any limitation on your ability to obtain gun purchase data or purchase information for people who aren't suspects from banks without a warrant?
Well, now you're asking a legal question, which I would prefer to defer to the lawyers, since I'm not practicing as one right now, including the department. But what I will tell you is that my understanding is that the process by which we receive information from business community partners across a wide variety of industries, including financial institutions, sharing information with us about possible criminal activity,
that is such
something that is fully lawful under current federal law.
It may be lawful, but it's not constitutional. I yield back.
And Massey actually makes a really good point right there. So in what, the point where he said, yes, this was included and then it was recalled. So they go ahead and they carry out the offense and then they apologize afterwards. Oh yes, it was, we went ahead and did it and then it was recalled. For what purpose though? I mean, if you're going to go after someone's private information like that, where is the warrant? Because it is a federal law that you cannot collect that specific type of information, collect and store, for the purposes of a registry. And it just seems to me, the law is pretty clear cut. I'm amazed at, and then he tries to hide behind, well, that's a question of the law, and I'm not, but you're the director. And I know he keeps trying to dodge and say, well, the rules say, or, well, that's, a legal question and I can't. You are the director of the FBI. You are being asked to state what you do, not explain the legal theory behind it, to simply state what it is that you do. So for him to say that, well, I can't answer that question, it's a legal question, that's not what's being asked. And he knows that. That's so ridiculous. I'm glad that Massey wasn't going to let him get away with that. For anyone who's arguing that Wray is some kind of a moderate, you have been snowed. There are actually, I got a couple of, there's a couple of comments every now and then, whether it's in social media, like Facebook or Twitter, or sometimes it'll be, sometimes I'll even see it, like comments on YouTube, or I'll even see, I'll get emails, and, and sometimes I'm wondering, I'm like, are you Wray's family? Like, what is up with, we're not being caustic, and we're not being unnecessarily harsh in criticism. This is accurate. I mean, this guy has done some shady stuff, and he's being called to account for it. You cannot sit here and honestly tell me that this guy is a moderate, or that this guy isn't as bad as some others. He's the one who tries to give it this veil of harmlessness, because he tries to make it look like it was either a simple mistake, or this is just protocol, or it's none of these things. I mean, case in point, he's admitting that they're sharing innocent people's records with the FBI all the time. And this, by the way, confirms a majority of people's suspicions. This comes from a study that was a few months ago, that the FBI was being weaponized against the people it's sworn to protect. Now, I will say that, and again, I like to give props to the people within the Bureau that come out and blow the whistle on this stuff, because it kind of restores your faith in the fact that there are some good people that are working, against this, going against the grain in these departments. But the way that the departments are being operated, and the way that political tribalism has tainted everything, I mean, they are really fighting upstream. Like George Hill was the former FBI supervisory intelligence analyst. He was in the Boston field office, and he apparently told that he told Thomas Massey, he told members of the committee that Bank of America had no legal process, was just giving people's firearms purchase records with zero boundaries, no boundaries, for anybody that was a Bank of America customer. Now, that came from an intelligence analyst within the FBI. So the FBI is telling on itself. The people there that are seeing some bad stuff happen, they're like, whoa, 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 this is not what we signed up for. Thank heavens for those people, because that's how we know about all this stuff. And they gave it over. And he said, and Wray was like, well, you know, there's a number of business community partners. They share information all the time about possible, here's the phrase, possible criminal activity. Now, you know, it's lawful. Is it? He says it's lawful. And that's when Massey gets into what you heard. Is there a warrant involved? And then they go on and on about that. And he goes, it's not constitutional. And he's right. He's absolutely right. This is wild.